time. There's never enough of it. Howdy YouTube! In case you didn't realize it before you clicked on it, this is the long version of converting a scraper from the winch and cable operation over to hydraulic operation. I have so much footage from doing this conversion, I decided I really want to do some in-depth videos and explaining what I do, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a really short video, hopefully less than 15 minutes, of all these parts put together, just a quick overview of how it all went. So there should be 3 parts to the long series, which should be the front hydraulic mounts, the rear hydraulic mount, and then the machining and the line boring of the wore out roller and stuff on the back. So there should be 3 parts, hopefully. So, anyway, let's get on to it. Give you a quick tour here. Of course, these are the pulleys where the cable's snaked through. It just requires 2 functions to operate this. One lifts the, let's see, how's this work again? Yeah, one lifts the apron here. That also dumps it, so the apron lift and the dump are the same. And then the other one sets your depth. Here, let's start clear back here. So this is the cables to run the apron and dump it. And these cables get sucked together by a set of pulleys there. So that set of pulleys, these set of pulleys, they come together. And that pushes this square tubing here forward, which is attached to that pin there, which moves this whole mechanism forward. That roller goes forward and hits that part right there, and that pushes the floor of the scraper up, so it dumps it. It's kind of like a dump truck. The floor of the scraper actually just goes forward like that and dumps out. It's kind of neat. And then this part of it is what tilts because of that coming forward. So that pulls these cables and that lifts the apron open on the front here. So this part right here, you can see the mechanism there. So that tilts back there and this comes up and the digging edge is back in under there. So the current thinking is to get rid of this pulley setup here completely and the square tubing arm, get rid of all of that. I'll build mounts coming off of that nice piece of square tubing right there. We'll put a trunnion mount cylinder right there that pushes on that lever right there. That's heavy.
Dink dink. Hello. Can't hear me. Ah, sorry. Trying to get your attention without scaring you.
But I was thinking it'd be really nice if I could take this back hitch thingy off. Pusher plate, I don't know, whatever you want to call that. It's literally, well, I guess it serves 2 functions, not just one. When you can push the scraper and pull the scraper. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but have another tractor back here pushing on it, or another tractor and scraper behind it, and then you can pull together. And also, of course, it just protects that pulley system and cable and all that mechanism, right? There's 4 bolts on each side over here that hold it on, but somebody has gone and ran a whole bunch of weld along there. But I still think it would be worth my time to go ahead and cut those welds and cut all the bolts off and drop this whole piece off, because then I wouldn't have to be climbing over it to work in there, and then I could put in new bolts and blah blah blah. lifted the back of the scraper up and over the scraper and set it in the bowl of the scraper. I could not figure out where else to go with this back piece to get it out of my way. And when doing this lift, keep in mind I could not see anything that was going on back there. I had no idea. I was doing this blind and just by feel of what the crane was doing. I do have several more extensions that go in this crane that would actually allow me to reach out to the very back of this back piece of the scraper and lift us straight up like you're supposed to with a crane, but it takes a lot of time to put in those extensions. And the problem with doing that is right now my boom extension hydraulic cylinder, the main boom up there, that's supposed to go in and out hydraulically, but my seals blew out in that cylinder. And when I took it all apart, I discovered that the bore and the piston both are just completely scored to heck. They are no good. So I have another cylinder now, but I don't have it put on yet, so I cannot run that hydraulic section in and out. So I'm losing 51 inches right there that I'd be able to pick it up and then retract it in, which would have made a huge difference on this. I could have put in another extension and then retracted it. But if I had those extensions in, it would have stuck out way too far to get it in the bowl of the scraper. I would have had to set down and reposition the truck again or something. It would have been a mess. Now that that piece is out of the way, I can roll out my plasma cutter and start cutting out all these old brackets in here where their pulleys used to be. And we'll get rid of that and we'll start building the mount for the trunnion cylinder that's going to go in here. Well, there's a quick little look at my grinding. Obviously made a couple little dents in it with the plasma cutter, but for the most part, I'm very happy with it. Well, I hope you can see that, because in the preview screen here, I don't see any of my drawing. But that's the part I drew. Let's see here, according to this, it's 21.75 inches tall and 13 inches wide. So that's a significant chunk of 1-inch plate I'll be cutting out here. I got a slot in the back here and a square cut out here because of the trunnion mount. I'm not putting a circle in it because I need to be able to slide that trunnion mount cylinder into this plate, and then I'll put caps on it that I'll make. So hopefully that makes sense to you, but if it doesn't make sense to you right now, then I'm sure it will as the video goes on here. So instead of cutting this out of my 1-inch plate right now, I'm actually going to put on my scribe and scribe a piece of cardboard and take that cardboard out and test fit it and see if it's anything close to what I want. Not perfect. I don't think I've ever tried it on corrugated cardboard, but it's enough of a line I can cut that out real quick with a utility knife, and I'll at least have something I can take out to the scraper and see how close we are. Alright. Oh, that's perfect. Why'd I even doubt myself? It probably took me 10 extra minutes in total cutting this out, you know, making the tool path for the scribe and all that stuff. But totally worth it, because now I feel 100% confident that I can go cut this out of the 1-inch plate and not waste a lot of money. We bought ourselves a new scale since we're shipping out so many projects by the post office now and UPS and stuff. We're doing a lot of mail out projects. We needed a good accurate scale. So I thought I'd throw this plate on there, and according to this, just over 25 kilograms and just over 55 pounds. Now that I have those mounts cut out for the rear hydraulic pusher cylinder, I'm going to switch to working on the front hydraulic cylinders for a while. That way I can keep cutting stuff out of this plate. But I think for the continuity of this video, it'll make sense if when I do the edit, I just do it so that we put in this entire rear cylinder. So for me, I'm jumping around a little bit, but for you guys, we're gonna stay on this cylinder. Man, I can believe how shiny that is though. That is remarkable how nice that turns out. So this is the rear plate, obviously, on the scraper here, and the trunnion part of the cylinder will slide through this notch here, and then this will have a hole in it that fits the trunnion. So once the cylinder is set in place here, well, hanging in the right area, then I can drop this piece in it, and then there will be another plate that goes over all this with bolt holes in it that also bolts to this square. Because what I need to do right now is make this big 2.5-inch hole in it. It's a pretty darn good sized hole. A 2.5-inch annular cutter is really expensive. So I just got a 2.25, and then we'll have to bore out the rest of it a little bit. Whew. I'd hate to be doing this on a mag drill. I would just be making a disaster. Good grief. That's a heck of a spring on that thing. Heck of a spring on the thing. Ow, I dropped it down in there. Now for my boring bar, I'm going to use the boring bar that I built. I have a video on this if you want to see it. So I got this in here, and I got this little just lathe bit, you know, high-speed steel, some sort. I think it says M42 on there. So 3/8 square M42. That's what I normally use. I just bought one of these cheapo sets of 3/8, you know, carbide bit holders. So I'm going to try that out today. Let's see, which one do I need? This one? Yep. Definitely getting some nice curly Q chips out of there though. Looking good. Showing 2.477. Yep, 2.477. So I wouldn't mind being even 50 thousandths over, so like 2.55. And I don't want this very close because that cylinder, I want it to kind of float a little bit in this mount and not be tight in there, because, you know, things need to move. I'm not quite happy with this machine finish inside these pieces. You see, it's a little rough in there, and I can feel it. I don't know. A36 plate is, you know, very chewy, so it could just be that, or it could just be those cheap carbide tips, you know what I'm saying? Don't know. So I use these cheap sanding things from Harbor Freight. I'm sure they're not designed for steel since it's brown paper, but it works pretty good. That's the coarse grit one. And that looks pretty darn shiny and it feels pretty good. I'll probably go ahead and hit it with the fine grit one too, but just using them in a little angle die grinder there and sanding the insides real quick. It looks really good to me. Feels good too, that's the important thing. It is very smooth feeling. That'll make a good polished bearing surface area for that trunnion mount. That's awesome. Alright, let's go see if these fit on the cylinder. Yeah, just a little bit of play. Oh, that turns really nice. That's nice. Yeah, just a little bit of play. I like that. plan for this, since the cylinder's a trunnion mount, is, you know, I just reuse the cutout piece here, goes over the trunnion of the hydraulic cylinder. It'll slide in there. Now obviously, since it's just the cutout, it's got the gap. So I want it to slide all the way back and hit this back here, so this will hold it, because this plate will go over it. So there'll be 2 bolts back here, and then I want to put 2 bolts clear up here, like that. So they'll be right up here at the front of this thing. And then I want to put a bolt in the corner of this cutout and the other corner, caddy corner. And these will actually be drilled and tapped, these 6. And these will be slightly oversized, the 6 in this plate. This will also need the big hole in it, like this thing has, because that trunnion will actually stick out past this plate. I think this full 1/2 inch, this is 1/2 inch by 6 inch plate, so I think it'll stick out to the edge of the Now I'm going to tackle the job of getting that huge cylinder dropped in place. You might be asking yourself, well, why don't you just use your knuckle boom crane? There's 2 reasons for that. One, I can't really weasel in very good next to the scraper because that's technically my neighbor's property, and also running the knuckle boom, I have to be at the controls. So it's very difficult for me to be next to the truck and see what's going on with the cylinder and get it in the exact right place. I could go get my wife to help me and spot, but I think just using this hoist here will be a lot better. I have the wireless remote right next to it. Everything will work a lot better, and I think I can just set it in place all by myself. So we will see. Just like to add, the shipping on this cylinder is 334 pounds. I don't know what that translates to in actual weight, because I'm positive that has to include the crate, and a lot of times they bump up the shipping weight too, just to cover their costs and whatnot. Just because that's what it ships for doesn't mean that's what it actually weighs. But I'm pretty confident that cylinder is right at 300 pounds. It's a heavy thing. Well, I've been shut down for a few days now. This is the 3rd day I've been able to work on the scraper because of the rain. And as you can tell, it ain't just sprinkling, it is raining. If it keeps at it, I'm going to have to see if I can put me a tarp up over that thing, or just, I think the back tires of the scraper will fit into the garage door just barely, like there might be less than 1 inch clearance. I might be able to back those back tires in and be able to work on the back of this thing, get out of the rain, but this is ridiculous. It's like I'm in the Pacific Northwest or something instead of Kansas. Well, it has finally stopped raining. The ground is still soaked. So I'm going to actually back the scraper up into my garage. Ha! Yeah. We'll see. I think the tires are going to fit through the door. So if I get the tires up onto the concrete, then I can work on the concrete here and just be right inside the garage and keep on keeping on, I think. Hope. So let's set up the camera and see if I back into something. Suffered a casualty. Did not have my kindling creator out of the way. Dang it. Yeah, well, at least that's fixable. Might be a little difficult to see what's going on here, but got this plate set up in here. It fits pretty good. I think we're lined up with the trunnion. Okay. It's obviously leaning out a little bit here because we're hitting on this weld in here. But otherwise, we're pretty darn close. Did a little bit of grinding and she fits really, really nice in there. It stays all on its own, so, you know. Oh! No, it doesn't. Never mind. Perfect. Yep, moment of truth. So if you want to be close. Whoa! Perfect. Holy cow. Every once in a while I do something that makes me think, maybe I am a decent metal fabricator. So, yeah, it's sitting in there. I measured from that pin, the back side of that pin, to the front side of this hole. And it's 26 1/16 of an inch to the front of this hole here. And it's the exact same thing on the other side. But that means sitting there like that, that thing is in there exactly where it belongs. And the other thing that I cannot believe that came out, because when I started measuring this and coming up with this plan, I knew this wasn't going to be right, is that both of these plates sit right inside this cutout they had for the pulley. Perfect width. As you can see on the trunnion there, the trunnion is basically up against that plate and basically up against that plate. There's a little bit of play side to side in it, so it's not tight, but you want a little bit. So man, that came out good. So happy. That looks awesome. The missile is ready for lunch. All right, I'm gonna weld these plates in nice and solid. And then we're gonna actually take these back out and I'm going to put grease zerks. Well, I'm going to crawl under there real quick and put this roller back in place. Again, just using temporary pins here and whatnot. I got so much footage on this scraper build that I don't know how I'm going to break this up into segments that aren't like 40 minutes long and 10 videos each, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be really hard for me to pick and choose what I need to put in the video to explain what happened and what to leave out. I forgot I got the rear guard sitting here in the bowl. All right, let's hope this floor moves. That is what I am worried about. Wow, the floor actually moves. I just knew this hinge on this floor was going to be completely seized up and we were going to end up replacing it. I actually told the customer when I was looking over this earth mover when it first showed up that he needs to plan on me replacing that hinge because it looked like it was completely seized. But not only does it work, it operates quietly. I'm just amazed at how quiet this thing is. No squeaking, no groaning. Unreal. I skipped over a whole bunch in this video here at the end. I didn't show making the roller and the pins associated with that. I didn't show mounting the hydraulic hoses. I didn't show putting on the new front tires. There's quite a list of stuff that I didn't show. So I'm going to go ahead and make a 4th episode of this. And since I said earlier in my videos I'm going to have it in 3 episodes, it's just going to be considered a bonus episode instead of number 4, right? That way I can get around that whole I said 3 episodes thing. And in that video, I'm going to discuss how I figured out which cylinders I needed for this earth mover conversion. I had a few people in the comments ask me, and I even received a few emails of people asking me how I chose these cylinders, how I figured that all up. So I'll discuss it in that video. And also, I really hope to get out to his place and show this thing in action so you can all see it working. He said currently they're just using it as a dump truck. It's so muddy because of all the rain we had that he's just using the excavator to load the earth mover and they're just driving it somewhere else and dumping it out. But even that would be some good footage to show you in action. So I guess that means there's probably going to be 2 more episodes. And to leave you with the final scene here, this is the customer taking the scraper back to his place. His 25-mile journey in his slow Versatile. I think he said it took him about an hour and a half one way to drive that 25 miles. So let me know if you enjoyed this video, and please give me a thumbs up if you did.